gives you this feeling of drowning, of this feeling of pessimism, this feeling of overwhelm and struggle, and like you're just drowning in too much information, right? And what is the next thing what one tends to do when we have tutorial hell, because God knows I went through it for 4 long years, like half a decade, okay, is you jump around a lot, right? There are things I'm going to talk to you about in today's episode that analyze why this happens, that I can pretty much promise you've never heard anywhere else before. Now the bar is higher. It's not 2012 anymore. You can't get a coding job just by learning how to build a simple website. Welcome to Easier Said Than Done with me, Zubin Pratap, where I share with you the tens of thousands of dollars worth of self-development that I did on my journey from 37-year-old lawyer to professional software engineer. The goal of this podcast is to show you how to actually do those things that are easier said than done. Hey guys, welcome to Easier Said Than Done and how to do it. And in this episode, I want to talk to you about the purgatory, the absolute hell that is tutorial hell, and help you understand why it happens. You know, it happens, I would say, to pretty much everybody who's trying to teach themselves to code. And kind of part of the problem is that they're teaching themselves to code in a way without actually knowing how to do it. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through what causes it, why it's such a big problem, and what you could do, what really objectively are your options. You may not like all the options, and some may not be right for you, some may work for you, but we need to walk through all of your options so you can make an intelligent decision and get out of tutorial hell one way or the other. So let's get started. Now, let me share my screen. So those of you who are listening, you're not actually being able to see any screen because it's on the YouTube version of this podcast. But for those of you who've tuned into this podcast before, you know that I share my screen and I walk through the worksheet with you. So let's talk about what is tutorial hell. And I'm going to try and make this a short episode. I know I say that every time. You guys can give me hell about it. It's fair. But it turns out that after I start speaking and I realize, gosh, there's a lot more to this topic than I initially thought I was going to have to speak about. But let's get started. Okay. So what is tutorial hell? I define tutorial hell as a kind of repeating loop of learning. And it's learning by watching, reading, following along, whatever it is that, results in a high level of literacy, but a very low level of practical ability. And it's actually characterized by a lot of, oh, I get it, I understand. Oh yeah, this is working for me. I followed along, it's working for me. Oh, cool. Now, it's starting to look familiar. I know how to do this. And then you find out you actually can't actually do anything independently. And you go back to another tutorial because you think there's some missing piece of information. And it's an endless chain of chasing the horizon, right? It's just around the next corner. It's just around the next corner. That insight, that breakthrough, that aha, the eureka moment is going to happen any second now. And you get stuck in this hellish loop of tutorial after tutorial. Now, there are things I'm going to talk to you about in today's episode that analyze why this happens, that I can pretty much promise you've never heard anywhere else before. As you know, my no BS policy is very real, so I'm going to give you the reasons why it's happening, and one of the reasons is something you've probably never heard of before, and it's frankly a bit of an insider reason, right? Okay, so let's talk about why this happens. Why does tutorial hell happen? Now, the main reason why it's happening is because of SEO, okay, search engine optimization. So what's actually happening? You guys, all of you, whatever it is you're doing in the world, all of us, me, we're constantly searching for things on Google and more recently on ChatGPT. So it's not happening yet on ChatGPT, but it's just a question of time. But we are constantly searching for stuff online. And those search terms are called search terms or search strings or keywords. They're often called keywords. So if I'm saying, how do I code in Python? That's a keyword or a keyword search. Even though it's many words, it's called a keyword. And Google and marketers track all the keywords, and these keywords are then ranked based on the volume. So you have monthly volume, you have annual volume, and so on, right? So let's take a look here very quickly. Keyword planner, right? It's actually a Google tool that gives you SEMrush is a sponsored thing. Keyword search tool, it tells you, keyword search tool. But basically, what does it do? It gives you a bunch of keywords that people are using that are similar to what they're already searching. So for example, if I want to see what the search volume for learn to code Python, that learn to code Python is your keyword, is your string, and you want to see what the volumes are, you can look it up. You can look it up by country, you can look it up globally, and you can see what people are searching. And then if it's got a high volume of searches, what ends up happening now, this is the inside scoop, what ends up happening is that bloggers, marketers, YouTube folks, TikTokers, Instagrammers, everyone's tracking keywords. And whatever's trending, whatever's a high search volume, whatever people are looking for is what they produce content on. What does that mean? That means that anytime you start searching for something, there'll be more content on it. And when there's more content on it, it spreads around kind of virally, right? And then everybody starts to think it's a thing. And then they search for it even more. And that causes even more content for it. And so you see this flywheel, right? So that's why there's a period of time and suddenly everybody's interested in cybersecurity because they can earn a lot without realizing that cybersecurity engineering, there's different flavors to it. Let's just say that. Hi, if you want a no BS insight into how to change your career, whether to code or something else, and how to actually get job opportunities in tech, then please subscribe and like. It's no BS because I have zero incentive to mislead you. I just want to help you and give you tons of value so that you will consider working with me to get to your next career. Take a look at the description text below to learn more about the training I offer. But I do post content here regularly, and by subscribing and liking and hitting that notification bell, you will get to know when I post new industry insights for you. You'll also know within about 3 seconds if you want to learn more, but at least you won't miss out. Oh, and please follow me on LinkedIn too. I pretty much post there every single day. Just look for my name, Zubin Pratap. All right, so please like and subscribe to this channel, and let's get back to the episode. Anytime there's this viral loop, it's because a lot of people, well, it starts in a small community, they start searching for it, but it starts trending upwards. And a lot of content producers then say, hey, this is trending upwards. I want to rank for those keywords. I want to get in front of people's eyeballs and I want to sell them something or get them to click on my blog or give me, increase my follower count because then I get sponsorships and stuff like that. So they try to attract as many followers as they can. And then they use and produce content on those keywords that you're searching for. And now it's become this thing that everybody thinks is a thing, but they may not actually be underneath it very much other than a trend, right? So tutorials are often produced in response to keyword searches. There's nothing wrong with that inherently because from time immemorial, people have marketed to people based on demand, right? What people are looking for, what people are interested in. So SEO is the number one reason I believe why there's a sudden proliferation of blogs, right? You can go to dev.to, you can go to FreeCodeCamp forums, you can go to this article, you can go to Medium, whatever it is, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's all the same thing. They've all got these search terms in the title and it's all this big game, I guess, that is being played. And nothing wrong with that because that's how marketing is. But what it means is that you guys, if you're not aware of this, will get sucked into these endless rabbit holes of SEO infused learning, which is not real learning, right? This then causes a problem of infinite scrolling, right? Because there's always more blogs, there's always more tutorials, there's no end for it. Every day, hundreds of coding tutorials are created on YouTube and Instagram. Hundreds and thousands. Okay, I'm not even exaggerating here. Every day. Every day, there's more content produced on a topic you're interested in than you can ever consume. That's how bad it is, okay? So it causes this infinite scrolling and you think there's always something else to do. Naturally, very quickly, this is going to get overwhelming. Now we have unlimited data on a phone, on a computer, on the radio, whatever it is, all the time, right? So that gives you this feeling of drowning, of this feeling of pessimism, this feeling of overwhelm and struggle and like you're just drowning in too much information, right? And what is the next thing one tends to do when we have tutorial hell, because God knows I went through it for 4 years, 4 long years, like half a decade, okay, is you jump around a lot, right? You start and you never finish anything. You bounce to this, you bounce to that, then some new headline catches your attention, or your phone, the algorithm suggests that you need to look at this, or some influencer that pops up on your Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or whatever it is suggests that, oh, this is the hot new thing, this is where all the jobs are going. Or freelancing, that's something, in June 2024, lots of people are suddenly very interested in freelancing because I think a bunch of influencers have talked about it being easy, and it's not. Like, you're competing with people with $15 per hour hourly rates and you're hoping to get 50, right? It's not going to work. So these trends happen and then people jump around a lot and then start a lot of things and they never finish anything and they're bouncing around and it's very, very frustrating. Okay. So that, I believe, is the number one reason why tutorial hell happens, is because there's all this content being produced that are targeting the things that you folks are searching for. And because you're searching for it, people are supplying whatever you're searching for. And then that creates this mutually enforcing loop of you thinking, oh, there's all this content out there, it must be important. But the content is there because you started searching for it. And so you start search for it more and you go deeper in the rabbit hole. So it's this terrible vicious loop, okay? The number 2 reason why people get stuck in tutorial hell is because of the learning to code myth, which is a myth that is very unique to code. Now think about it for a moment. You can learn anything you want for free. That's always been the way, by the way. It's easier today with the internet, but there have always been, in most developed countries, there have been libraries, public libraries, university libraries, places where you could go. I mean, for God's sake, Ben Franklin learned how to read from his brother or the Brothers Press or something like that, right? Like, there's always been ways for you to learn something for free if you wanted it badly enough. But for some reason, coding has got this aura around it, this marketing myth around it, that anyone can learn to code for free and get hired. Now, those are two very different things. Okay, two very, very different things. Of course, you can learn to code for free. Of course, that's exactly what a tutorial will do, but you're not going to get hired because you know a little bit of code. Okay, so learning to code as a myth has perpetuated this thing that if I do a few dozen tutorials and I build a simple portfolio site, I will get lots of jobs. It doesn't work like that. Just because you know how to play cricket or basketball doesn't mean you're going to go pro level, because there's a huge difference between knowing something and being professionally capable at it, being market ready for it. Okay, so that's the second reason, and I keep talking about this a lot on social media, I know, that don't get sucked into this learning to code myth. That's just literally step one. Okay. Now, the next reason why so many people get stuck, and this was really true for me, get stuck in the tutorial hell loop is because of the junkie cycle of confidence. I call it the junkie cycle of confidence. And this is what happens, right? You do a few tutorials and you're like, hey, I get this. I'm getting the hang of it. I think I understand it. I understood everything I read in that blog. Maybe I now know how to code, right? And then you get this confidence, and then you go and do something, or you try to build something, and you get very quickly stuck. You have no idea how to get anything done. And then you think, oh, okay, I see. I'm stuck because of this. I'm stuck because of this. Fine, I just need a few more tutorials. And you go and do a few more tutorials, and you get this dopamine rush every time you finish a tutorial and you understand something. You feel motivated, and then you try and build something, and then you get demotivated because you're like, I actually don't know how to build anything. I've been doing this for months now. I keep learning these new things, and I keep jumping around from one to the other. And I've learned all the new stuff that influencer told me is hot right now. But I can't actually build anything, right? I hear so many people coming to me for coaching because they're like, I've been learning to code for 12 plus months, guys, and they can't build anything. Hey, I'm really not judging. I had that problem for more than 4 years, right? And so you get demotivated, then you feel real despair, and then one of two things happen. You're going to go back into the tutorial hamster wheel, or you're going to quit. And a large number of people quit, okay? So that's reason number 3 for tutorial hell. Now, let's talk about the real dangers of tutorial hell, okay? Number 1, it is a cycle. It's a pattern. It's an infinite loop, and it's really, really hard to get out of this. It just goes round and round and round and round because you repeat the same behaviors and you're praying for a different result. You're doing the same things that's not working, and you're hoping that this time it's going to somehow work. Obviously, you keep doing this long enough, you've given up a lot of personal time, you've sacrificed a lot of time and effort and energy, and in some cases, lots of money. Like I spent more than $2,000 in completely useless Codecademy courses and Coursera courses and stuff like that, because all it does is it gives you some basic level of literacy, and I'll get to that in a moment. But after a while, it gets really overwhelming, guys, and you get super confused, right? I've done all this, and I've done a little bit of this, and I've done a little bit of that, and now I'm starting to forget what I did 6 months ago, and it's very confusing. And when you get confused and you have all these options and all these SEO infused suggestions, and your algorithms are telling you all these things, and your influencers and Instagram and YouTube are suggesting all these things, all this information comes at you. As it is, you're demotivated and you're frustrated because you spend a lot of time, and now you're going to get confused. And when you're confused, you're not going to make a decision. You're going to get paralyzed. And when you don't make a decision and you're going through paralysis, that means you're not taking any action, downright inaction, right? And then inevitably what's going to happen is you're just going to stop. You're just going to quit. And it's not going to look like quitting. It's just going to be spending less time on it, less time on it, less time on it, until one day you just explained it away as, oh yeah, I used to try and I tried and never got anywhere, and you make up a reason as to why you didn't, right? And it's all because of tutorial hell. It's all because you're stuck in this endless hamster wheel and you don't know how to get off it, okay? Now, the third danger of tutorial hell, and you'll see that this is sort of connecting back to all the causes of tutorial hell are also the dangers of tutorial hell. So the number three danger of tutorial hell is you get false confidence. Now, this means at first you think, yeah, I know, I understand, I'm getting the hang of this. And then you think, oh, I know how to code. Yeah, maybe I've crossed that line. And then you try and build something and you have no idea what to do. Or you read something or you see somebody else's code and you're completely hopelessly lost. And you have this crushing moment of realizing, gosh, after all this, just when I thought I was good, or I understand what's going on, I actually can't build anything with it. Why can't I build anything? What am I doing wrong? And you're so lost. You don't know where to start. You just don't know what to do about the situation. It's really feeling stuck, when you can't build anything after you put in a lot of work. And this happens because you've mistaken literacy for skills. You understand how the ABCD, the alphabet of coding works. You understand how to put together some letters and make some words. You may be even able to understand how to put together sentences and paragraphs, but you can't actually write a program that works. Right? That's because you've mistaken literacy for actual skill. And most of software engineering is not the code you write, it's the system you design and the code you read and improve on, and all the tools you need to use to make sure you're doing the right thing, you know? So that's one of the reasons why false confidence is a real problem. The second thing is also very common. I see that people mistake knowing how to do for loops and conditionals. Oh yeah, I learned how to do for loops, and I learned how to do these dictionaries, and I know object oriented programming. Okay, you don't know how to use object orientation in programming until you've actually built a full program where you've modeled the entire domain and the problem space in the form of objects and their interrelationship with each other, the data and the behaviors of each. And that's a complex skill. You cannot do that by following tutorials. You can get a basic literacy, a basic idea, but a basic idea is so far away from skill. Just like knowing that you've got to bounce the ball with one hand at a time in basketball doesn't make you a basketball player. You know the syntax, you're not skilled, right? That's the big difference. So don't mistake literacy for skills. Don't mistake syntax for engineering, right? These are the things that make the false confidence problem worse and make the discouragement that comes from tutorial hell much worse, okay? Now, the reality is tutorials are kind of, it's kind of like learning to draw by connecting the dots, right? It's already there in the book. All you got to do is connect the dots, right? And that's not what drawing is about. If you really had to make art, you have to do it without drawing the dots. It has to come from the mind, and then you have to represent some idea in your head in paper. It's the same thing with code. You cannot say you're a coder if you're just connecting the dots that are given to you in tutorials or courses. And this is the problem with, I think, with things like Codecademy and a whole bunch of other stuff, is everything's so easy, right? They've basically given you the question, they've broken down the problem, they've given you the ID, nothing goes wrong. It's kind of fail safe, it's idiot proof. And so you can write a bunch of code and you think, oh, I know how to code, but you can't put a program together because you don't have real problem solving skills. And this is the big problem with, paint by numbers or learning to draw by connecting the dots, is you don't have problem solving skills. What engineers actually do, what real coders do when what they're paid to do, is they have a blank canvas and they have to make some art in it, and they have a vague idea how it is. So they have to gather requirements, they have to speak to different parts of the business to understand what the output is, they have to understand what the constraints are, they have to know what their resourcing constraints are in terms of not just people but in terms of the computing resources. And then you have to design a program to solve all this, then you have to write all the tests, and you have to use the tooling correctly. That's what actual software engineering is. That's where real problem solving comes in. And it's not easy. You can't teach this stuff in tutorials. You can only teach this by doing real world projects, right? By actually building something from scratch. But if you've been stuck in tutorial hell, you can't build something. You can't design and build your own system. That's why you feel, oh, I've done all this work and I can't build anything. It's because you don't have engineering skills. You have coding literacy, two completely different things. Now, the reality is that these tutorials do not reflect real life, right? They are not actually giving you the critical skills you need, because anybody can follow along a guide. You don't need to be an experienced coder. It takes no skill to follow along a guide where somebody else has done all the thinking, all the problem solving, all the designing, all the decision making, all the research. They've done it all for you. They've literally just written down their steps, right? You're not a chef who's come up with the recipe independently. You're following the recipe from a book. That doesn't make you a chef, right? So it's very superficial. Now, these are all the reasons why it's really dangerous to get stuck in tutorial hell and then to mistake your ability after tutorials as being real skill. Now, this brings me to the number 4 danger in tutorial hell, right? Which is that the wrong expectations of what coding is causes 90% plus people to quit, right? I've observed this indirectly myself when I teach boot camps or I teach courses or whatever it is. I've observed this. 90% of the people who learn to code in inverted commas are going to quit and never even get a single interview. In fact, the data is borne out in another way, right? If you look at average course completion rates, just Google them. Just look up MOOC, right? Massively open online classes or colleges or whatever you want to call them, Coursera's, Codecademies, all of these things. Look up their completion rates. It's less than 10%, guys. Okay, less than 10% of people will complete something on Udemy, even if it's only 4 hours long or 6 hours long, okay? And that's pretty short. The reality is 90+% of people are going to quit. It's because they had the wrong expectations. And the wrong expectations are fueled by these SEO-infused sort of tutorial mills that are created, these tutorial treadmills, right? And the number 5 reason why there's a real danger to getting stuck in tutorial hell is that it means that you have no directional plan. If you're stuck in tutorial hell, it's a symptom of a deeper problem. The problem is that you're entirely reactive. You're letting some algorithm on the internet or some influencer tell you what you need to be doing, and you're letting the latest trend and the latest SEO stuff direct your plan. You have no plan, no direction. It's just the equivalent of saying you're like a boat with a decent engine and a decent rudder, but no one's at the wheel, right? The captain's gone for a snooze and you're stuck on some sort of tide or some sort of current, and the current is just taking you where it's going to take you. Even with an engine, a boat that doesn't have control over its engine and its direction is going to be taken wherever the current goes. And this is what is happening to you if you have no direction or plan. You're just going where the current goes, which is not anywhere good because the current is decided by SEO and the latest trend of the day. Now, when you have all of this happening, guys, the logical thing to do is to quit. The logical and rational thing to do when you're not making progress, when you're stuck in an endless loop and you don't know how to get out, and you've burnt hours and hours and hours and weeks and months of your time, the rational thing to do is to quit and to assume that you're not good enough. That's going to damage your confidence when actually it was not your fault, right? So let's talk about the next point, that everything is hard when you don't know how. Right? And that's going to cause you to quit. That's going to cause you to have damaged self-esteem. That's going to cause you to feel that your confidence is going to take a hit and you're going to feel, I can't actually do this, right? Which is not true. You can, you just don't know how, right? Even a child learning how to ride a bicycle has training wheels. You could just take a toddler and say, jump on a bike with 2 wheels and figure it out. And yeah, they're going to hurt themselves a lot. And then they're going to think that they're useless. That's not the way it works, right? You need training wheels. You need a proper structure, a proper system of guidance. Everything that we've ever learned in college could have been learned for free. What did colleges and what did school do for us? Why did our parents put us through school? Because the structure, the guardrails, the system, the accountability all helps us learn things that otherwise, without those surrounding guardrails, we would never have learned. We would have been guessing our way to success. The reason there's a structure and accountability system is because it helps get the results. Same thing whether you're going to the gym. You can get a personal trainer or you can do it yourself. If you do it yourself, you're probably going to have weaker results unless you're supremely structured. And most people aren't, right? The reason why personal trainers get such great results for their people, for their clients, is because they're telling them stuff that they already know, but they're giving them accountability and structure. Now, when you don't know what you don't know, how can you give yourself accountability and structure? Okay, you cannot know what you don't know, which means you cannot possibly make a plan for yourself. It's like trying to navigate in a new country that you've never been to without any help. If you go to a country and you don't have maps on your phone, you cannot navigate by guessing. You just can't. The minimum you have to do is ask someone for help, which means you need help. You can't just guess your plan. You can't know what you don't know. So the technique here is to accept that you can't know what you don't know, accept that you need help, and then get help. Guys, it's not 2012 anymore, okay? It's 2024. The tech sector is now maturing. I did an episode analyzing how the tech sector is maturing and how it's happened in every other industry in the history of mankind. I think it's episode 13. Take a look at it, where I talk about the cycles of growth and maturity that all sectors go through, and they can last hundreds of years. The tech sector is definitely maturing. It's gone from the hypergrowth to the growth stage, which means that there are going to be higher expectations of the people in the workforce, because we've had 15, 20 years of people leaping into the tech sector at a time when there was a bit of a gold rush. So they didn't need to have a lot of skill, and then they got the skill while in the sector. Now the bar is higher. It's not 2012 anymore. You can't get a coding job just by learning how to build a simple website. Okay, that's not going to happen. That's a thing of the past. Just let it go. Just because it worked in 2012 and 2015 doesn't mean it's going to work now in 2024. Time has moved. The market has moved, okay? In fact, I'd encourage you to take a look at the 7 stages of becoming a coder, which I've linked to over here, which is on matchfitmastery.com as well. You can look at the comparisons chart, right, where I talk about the 7 stages of becoming hired as a coder. And the reality is you need to make a plan for each of these stages, right? Right from the what kind of coding do I want to do? That's stage 1. All the way to the 7th stage, which is negotiating the offer that's going to give you the kind of career you want, right? There are lots of steps in between. You have to figure out a goal. You have to figure out the minimum curriculum. Then you have to get advanced level skills. Then you have to know how to get interviews. Then you have to do well at interviews, and so on and so forth, right? So it's hard to do any of these things when you've never done it before, especially for a new industry. You're flying blind in a new country. Get the help you need. Now, the next thing that you need to know is that there is a minimum effective dose. This is what I spend a lot of time with my students on. The right strategy is not to learn as much as you can to beat the competition, because there's no end to it. As you can see, there's way too much information. More and more is coming out every day. We just can't keep up. So if you try to learn the maximum amount to beat the competition, you will break your brain. You will sprain your brain, okay? It's too much. You cannot do it. It's the wrong plan. You're drinking from a fire hose. The better plan is to learn the minimum necessary to get your leg in the door, to beat the competition and get the leg in the door. Okay, you can't learn it all, so learn the minimum required, which means you have to know exactly what to exclude, and you have to analyze and understand the minimum required, and that depends on your starting point. If you've already learned ABC and you just need to go to D, E, F, and G, then you just have 4 more letters to learn. But if you're starting at A, then you have 7 letters to learn to get to G, right? So your starting point really, really matters. You need to analyze what you need to do to get to your destination. And to do that, there are really only 2 options that you have. Okay, this is true of anything in life. You have 2 options. You can do it yourself. Nothing wrong with that. It works very well for some people with the right personality. But you have to put in about 400 to 500% of the time. Here's a simple example. Whatever you did at college, if you went to college, or whatever you did in school, you would have learned it faster with the help. If you tried to do it on your own, it would have taken you longer, right? It's just that simple. We know, we understand how it works for kids. We understand how it works for gardening. We understand how it works to get a 6-pack. We need to understand it's the same thing with an advanced skill like software engineering and coding, okay? But that's option 1, do it yourself. And I recommend everybody tries to do it for themselves. I absolutely think it's the right thing to start with. You should be DIYing your learning to code process, bootstrapping it for at least 2 to 3 months on your own. Why do I say that? First and foremost, you got to figure out whether you like it. Secondly, you have to figure out whether you have it in you or not to actually figure this out on your own. 99% of people won't. There's no shame in it. Don't feel bad about it. But you owe it to yourself to find out. Then you've got a choice. Do you either get help and get there much faster, or do you continue to muddle along on your own? It's your life. You decide what's right for you, but definitely at least try on your own for 2 to 3 months. If at the end of that, you've decided that, okay, I could potentially do this, doing it on my own, there's a very low chance that I'm going to succeed, but I could double my chance of success or triple my chance of success by getting some help, then look at getting some help, right? And if you've done at least 2 to 3 months of DIY, doing it on your own before that, you will be able to choose the kind of help you need very strategically, because you will know, okay, these are the issues, these are the things I need help with, these are my weak spots, and these are the reasons why I'm not able to do it myself. Once you understand that, you can then pick and choose what the right help is for you. And look, there's really only 3 types of help, okay? You go back to college for a computer science degree, or you go to a boot camp, which may or may not require you to give up your job. And the ones that do well typically require you to give up your job and throw you in the deep end for 16 weeks, 10 hours a day, for 7 days a week or whatever. Like, they're really intense. Or you could come to me or someone like me. I don't actually know anybody else who does what I do, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time, but you can go and get coached or mentored by someone who's willing to do that. If you have access to people in your tech network who are willing to, spend 5-6 hours with you every week, absolutely do that, right? And it's going to take about a year or so to do it. But if you don't have access to that and you're sick of trying to do it in your own, and you're not confident you're going to get the results, and you're hell-bent that you want the result. If you don't want the result, quit now, because you might as well quit early rather than quit in the middle, which is a total waste of time. But if you're definite that you want to be a coder, you want to get hired, that's the kind of career you want. You want to have that access to that tech world and have the access to the opportunities and the remote working and the travel and working with great people. You want all of that. You like code. Then invest in yourself and figure out a way to get help. Go to college, go to a boot camp, find a coach or a mentor. Like, these are your 3 options to dramatically accelerate your progress and reduce the chance that you're going to quit. Because frankly, just relying on the internet, it's not like it was in 2012 anymore. There's now too much information and it's kind of rigged. It's all about the SEO. It's all about grabbing your attention and your eyeballs. And it's all about keeping you engaged on Instagram or Medium or whatever it is, okay? You need to cut all that crap out. Just cut it all out and figure out your minimum effective dose to get from A to B, okay? So look, guys, for those of you who are interested, there's no obligation, and I don't work with everybody. I work with very few people, like 8, 10, 12, maybe, for a whole 6 to 12 months. Like, very few people for a long period of time. And the reason I do that is because that's what it takes, I believe, to get solid results for everybody. I don't want just a few people getting results. I want everyone to have the chance to get the results, okay? So that's what I do. My program is called the Inner Circle program. It's definitely not for everyone. But if you're thinking of a boot camp and you don't want to quit your job, or you're thinking of a boot camp and you're not convinced that they're going to give you the personalized attention you need, or you don't live in one of the big cities like San Francisco, New York, and you still want a chance at tech, well, then the boot camps aren't necessarily going to be able to help you, because they tend to, do really well in the big cities like New York and San Francisco, where, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. That may not be your situation. And you want to sort of keep your income, you want to keep your job, you want to have a flexible learning schedule, but you want to have accountability and structure, and you want all the guesswork taken out for you, then I could potentially help you. I don't know. You'll have to book a call with me, and we'll have to figure out whether I'm actually able to help you. And I'll be very honest if I can't, because I have no desire to work with someone that I'm not convinced I can help. But that's what the Inner Circle program is all about. It's very personal, direct, hands-on mentorship by me to you for a very long period of time, till you get the results that you're going for, and it's completely personalized to your circumstance. And I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, don't do it. it's not right for you. I'll be the first one to tell you, because there's no point getting you to do something that you're going to suck at or you're going to fail at, and then you're going to feel really bad about yourself. Okay, so that's what I do. That's what the Inner Circle program is. You can look it up on matchfitmastery.com. That's matchfitmastery, one word.com, or just find me on LinkedIn, and send me a message, and we'll have a chat. And there's definitely going to be links in the show notes as well on how you can find all of this stuff about how you can reach out to me. And all you got to do is decide, do you want it? Have I tried to do it? Are you sure you're going to do it on your own? Great. More power to you. Absolutely go for it. But if you think you need the help to get there faster or more reliably in a more safe and secure way without taking crazy risks, and so that you finally actually get the results you want, speak to me and perhaps we can work together. But I hope this episode has been valuable for you. Whatever you guys do, whether you work with someone, whether you go to bootcamp, I don't really care. That's entirely up to you. Please get off the tutorial hamster wheel, because it's really not designed to help you. It's really not designed to help you. Each individual author may want to help you. That's true. But the system as a whole is designed to grab eyeballs and optimize for SEO, and not actually give you skills. Maybe it'll give you literacy. Maybe you'll actually successfully build a simple portfolio app by following a tutorial, but you don't know how to build something from scratch in a situation of ambiguity, which is what the real world is all about. So please don't get stuck on that hamster wheel and mistake literacy for actual skill. Okay, if you've done a few tutorials and you feel like, or you've done a few courses and you feel, hey, I've done all this, but I still don't know how to build anything, it's because you spent too long in tutorial hell and you've mistaken literacy for skill. It's as simple as that. Okay, I'll see you on the other side. You take care of yourself. Bye.
Do it. Just subscribe. You know you got to do it.